Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Pierce College. It's our Tuesday night wrap up for June 20th. This is week 6. We just finished our class, and the topic tonight was social structure theories. It was the main course this evening, and that is, hopefully you've already taken a look at it, is if you're in the second edition, should be chapter 5. If you are in the third edition, it's going to be chapter 6 in your textbook. So most of you have the second edition, so we're talking about chapter 5. It's on social structure theories, which begins with an introduction to sociological aspects, sociological theories, because there's actually 3 chapters on sociological theories. One is the social structure, the next is the social process, and the other is class issues. So what we did tonight, obviously we started with our normal current event. The students that came to class tonight all had some interesting things to address. As far as current events are concerned, we did a review of psychological and psychiatric foundations of crime through the viewing of a video. 2 videos, actually. One is a short video, 6-minute video called The Strange Tale of John DuPont. And the second one was part of ESPN's 30 for 30 called The Prince of Pennsylvania. The Strange Tale of John DuPont, actually I have on DVD, so unless it's in the Films on Demand in the library, I don't have one to supply for you to visit with it. The ESPN 30 for 30 is available on YouTube, but it's not free. So my other recommendations, if you want to see what it was that we were doing, is if you look at either the Netflix documentary called Team Foxcatcher, which came out in 2016, so it's pretty recent, or the movie from 2014 called Foxcatcher. Basically, we're talking about John DuPont, and you could search on him on Google. You'll find articles from the Philadelphia Inquirer and other newspapers regard to a 1996 murder that occurred. And what we looked at was the 30 for 30 Prince of Pennsylvania went through years of John DuPont's life and the involvement of this Team Foxcatcher, which was, he had his own wrestling camp right here in Pennsylvania on the DuPont estate. And we saw that over the years that John started having some real issues and deteriorated psychologically. Ultimately, he killed one of the guys that was acting as a coach, and he was tried for murder. He was found guilty but mentally ill in February of 1997. His lawyers tried to get a not guilty by reason of insanity charge. He's diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic. The jury believed that he did, in fact, know what he was doing and know that it was wrong, even though he was mentally ill. So that's a very important concept to understand, that you can be mentally ill but still be well aware of your behavior. So what we did in class as part of our review is watching that video, and then we did a think, pair, share activity where I asked the students to, on their own, think about 3 of the psychological theories or psychological issues covered in the previous chapter on psychological and psychiatric foundations. What 3 might have affected John DuPont. And then they got together with another student, discussed what they came up with, and then each pair was able to share with the rest of the class, and we discussed it. It was very interesting and informative, and we found a whole lot of different issues with John, besides the fact that he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenic, some of which may have led to that behavior later on. Like he was the youngest of the children in his family, and at a very young age, his older brothers and sisters, there was a wide gap between them, so they moved out. His father had passed on, or their parents broke up, whatever, and he wound up living with his mother alone for many, many years. He didn't have very many friends. Mom actually paid people to come over to be his friends, and there was a whole lot of issues going through the years. And we can also see in his interaction with the wrestlers as time went on. He was bonding with them, but he was actually paying them to be around him at this camp. And it's very interesting. So I would recommend, if you want a better understanding of some of the issues in that previous chapter, is try watching one of those. Either, like I said, Team Foxcatcher is on Netflix. If you have Netflix, should be free for you. Foxcatcher, the movie, is available, I think, on Amazon, but you'd have to pay for that. And maybe many other sources that you could get it through. The one that we watched, the ESPN 30 for 30, Prince of Pennsylvania, is available for purchase through YouTube and probably some other sources. I bought it for like $5, and then it's like a lifetime thing, so I use it I've used it a couple times in this class. So that was the first part, and then we got into, and we had some lengthy discussions. I mean, these folks, men and women, really got into that, and they had a laundry list of issues with John, and we had long discussions about John and his issues, so it was extremely interesting. Then we got into the Chapter 6 lecture, which is on social structure. We went through the PowerPoint, again, had a lot of varying discussions about the issues. I'll be posting the actual lecture material tomorrow, so we'll get into the actual content tomorrow. Hopefully, when you get around to reading or watching the video, if you're going to watch it, you've already read the chapter in the textbook. We also have another video that I was going to show a very good example of relative deprivation, which is one of the issues covered in the chapter. I'm going to show that next week in class. Again, that may be available, films on demand. I have to look. I think it might be. And it's called Crime and Justice. It's from the ABC News video series. And so during the course of the lecture, we discussed the concentric zone model and how it might be applicable to the city of Philadelphia. That's actually discussion in your group. And the other thing I put into discussion in a discussion group for this week was to look at an article, and we discussed it a little bit, about gentrification and brewery town, and what would appear, and again, when you hear the lecture, when you watch my lecture, you'll know what I'm talking about, or if you read the chapter, to be a culture conflict. And the article is posted in the discussion group, so you should read that article, obviously, before you do the discussion, and then look at the chapter to see what theories you think apply. And I think one of them is relative deprivation, the other might be a culture conflict. And it's pretty evident when you read the article as to what went on. I won't get into it any further right now, maybe when I do the lecture tomorrow. So that took us, a whole lot of time to get all those things and a lively discussion. Keep in mind, we are week 6. I think most people have already turned in your draft for the project. I'm going to try. I'm a little behind with some things going on over the weekend and what have you, and yesterday with the nasty storms and the internet going out and that kind of garbage. A little behind. I still have like 8 papers to grade from week 4, and I want to try to get on your week 5 stuff right away. I'll probably start with the project drafts so I can give you feedback in case you need to make any corrections for the project. Again, if you do have any questions or problems or issues that you want to address, reach out to me as soon as possible, because we're in the home stretch now. We have basically 3 weeks. All your final work is going to be due by July 3rd. So keep that on your calendar. July 3rd is the last day that things are due, unless, of course, you contact me and you have a really good reason why you can't make that deadline. I know this session, we had some people with some really serious problems that they had to address. And, of course, I'm going to work with you. But I have a hard deadline for submitting grades at the end of the session, which is that same week. Because the next session starts the following week. So keep that in mind and try to shoot for getting things done by that July 3rd deadline. All right, again, if you got any questions, reach out. Hope everybody's having a wonderful night, and look for my lecture, hopefully in like 3 or 4 parts, will be posted tomorrow. Take care.